As an average 2012 child, I used to play a lot of Minecraft, which ultimately meant that I would be listening to a lot of Minecraft music. For most, the Minecraft soundtrack isn't just a soundtrack, it is a core fundamental to their childhood. The Minecraft Volume Alpha soundtrack was made by the now famous C418. The album, consisting of 24 tracks, was made fully in Ableton, which by Daniel's words is a software that even an idiot can understand. Which I'm sorry to say, Daniel, because I could not. Having only done a few albums and not a lot of collaborations, Daniel met Notch on a game developer forum called Tixos. Being held responsible for the soundtrack and sound effects of the game, Daniel immediately went to producing, and with that ran into a really big first problem. Tons of awesome ideas that he wanted to implement into Minecraft had to be scrapped because of the faulty Java engine. Daniel wanted to make Minecraft sound way more realistic by adding in ambience, whether that would be birds chirping, the river flowing, or the sound of the wind blowing. But since the engine could only run a couple of sounds at once, implementing this idea would make the game instantly crash. Another thing that Daniel wanted to implement was to play specific songs for a specific biome. But after realizing the nature of Minecraft and the fact of how quickly the player moves in the game, Daniel also scrapped this idea. Making the Minecraft soundtrack and sounds was truly not only an artistical challenge, but a technical one too. And to think of how Daniel and Notch found a way to use the limitations that they had to the current success of the game is absolutely incredible. The path that Daniel decided to take with the soundtrack was to make it as surprising as he possibly could, which in his view meant making a calm ambient soundtrack on an 8-bit looking game. Daniel took this inspiration from an old 2006 game called Dwarf Fortress, an indie building game which looks more complex than it is to connect to a working McDonald's Wi-Fi. Despite being an 8-bit looking game, Dwarf Fortress surprised the player by having absolutely lovely guitar music playing in the background, which to Daniel seemed like a perfect way of keeping the player immersed in the game. And that is what Daniel wanted to recreate in Minecraft. Because predictions in Minecraft are absolutely unpredictable, Daniel and Notch decided to make the soundtrack play randomly between 15 to 30 minutes. Not only that, Daniel specifically wanted the music to be soothing so that it could easily phase through the player's mind. This would not only spark a wonderful and relaxing moment for the player, but would also cause the effect of remembering a specific set of moments related to one piece of music. And needless to say, it has definitely worked. This is what makes Minecraft feel so special. It is a game which doesn't focus on its own story, but in fact does on yours. And that is why the game has clicked with so many people. Everyone has their own experiences which are incredibly memorable to them. Some might remember the moment when they have first built their cozy farm because the track of Wet Hands was playing in the background, whilst others remember the specific moment of watching the sun rise down because the track of Clark was playing nice and sound. While making this video, I listened to Minecraft Volume Alpha for more over than 10 times now, and while listening, I realized something that I have never realized before. The fact of just how strongly the soundtrack takes me back to my childhood. The times when I didn't care about anything in the world but playing Minecraft. Because it was a game that opened up its borderless borders to my limitless imagination. I was so obsessed with the game that it is probably the main reason why I even had friends back then. And not only that, while listening to the specific track of Wet Hands, I remember the times when I had absolutely zero responsibilities and zero worries about the future. And after realizing this, I broke down. I almost never cry when it comes to films or music in general, but the Minecraft soundtrack, it just breaks me. Living Mice and Wet Hands have always shed a tear from me, whether that would be on my first or fifth listen. The rapid advancement of chaos slowly building up as these tracks go on, only to fully calm down at the very end, spark something deep inside me. I have the Minecraft soundtrack put into my most replayed Spotify playlist, and when that soundtrack comes on, I always take the time to listen to the song that's playing, whether that would be me working or studying. While making this video, I have realized something that I have not realized ever before. I realized the absolute lightning speed of time. My childhood went by faster than I even thought it ever could, but I am very thankful that I have heard this masterpiece of an album while I was still an innocent kid, having known nothing about the real world. Because whilst I can never go back to my childhood, I can still re-experience a fraction of it while hearing the soundtrack.